The rain poured down in relentless sheets, blurring the streetlights and drumming against the cracked sidewalks of a weary little town. On that gray evening, a girl no older than 10 stood on the corner of an empty street, clutching a cardboard box of cookies that were quickly becoming damp despite the plastic wrap. Her small shoes were soaked through, her dress clung to her shivering frame, and her fragile umbrella had flipped inside out against the force of the wind. Cars rushed past, their headlights cutting through the storm, but not one slowed down. She stood there, with her eyes full of hope, her cheeks streaked with rain and maybe a few tears, whispering the words she had repeated all day, "Would you like to buy some cookies?" Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of compassion to change lives, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel Kindness Tales. Every action helps us spread these stories of hope to more hearts that need them. The little girl's name was Emily. Life had not been easy for her. Her mother worked double shifts at a diner just to keep a roof over their heads, and her father had been gone for years, leaving behind nothing but unpaid bills and quiet sadness. Emily was too young to fully understand why her home felt so heavy with struggle, but old enough to notice when her mom skipped dinner so she could feed her daughter instead. Emily loved her mother fiercely, and whenever she saw her working herself to exhaustion, she dreamed of helping in any way she could. So when her school announced a cookie fundraiser, Emily didn't see it as just another school project. She saw it as her chance to ease even a fraction of the burden her mother carried alone. At first, she had walked door to door in the nicer part of town, her small voice trembling as she knocked on strangers' doors. Some were kind and bought a box or two. Others gave her nothing but a cold shake of the head before shutting the door. But by late afternoon, she had wandered too far from home and found herself downtown, where the streets were noisier, the faces harder, and the rain had just begun to fall. Still, Emily kept going. She imagined the pride on her mother's face if she came home with an empty box. She imagined what it would feel like to finally do something that mattered. As the hours dragged on, her hope began to dim. People rushed past her, umbrellas tilted, eyes glued to their phones. The rainwater crept up her ankles, her socks squelched with every step, and her voice grew hoarse from calling out to strangers who never turned their heads. Her little body was trembling, her hair plastered to her cheeks. She thought about going home, but the thought of facing her mother with nothing to show for her effort made her stay. She whispered to herself, "Just one more person, maybe the next one will stop." And then it happened. A car slowed down as it approached the corner where Emily stood. She held her breath, clutching the cookie box tightly. The window rolled down, and a man in his late 40s leaned out. He had kind eyes, though his suit was soaked at the shoulders from where the rain had blown in. He asked her why she was out here in the storm all alone. Emily explained in her fragile, halting words that she was selling cookies for school, that she just wanted to help, and that she couldn't go home until she had sold them all. The man's face softened with something more than pity, it was recognition. He had once been a little boy standing in the rain, selling newspapers to feed his family after his own father had left. The man parked his car and stepped out into the downpour, ignoring the fact that his leather shoes were ruined instantly. He crouched down so he could look into Emily's eyes. Without hesitation, he bought the entire box of cookies. But that wasn't all. He handed her an umbrella from his car, wrapped his jacket around her shoulders, and told her he would drive her home so she wouldn't have to walk through the storm anymore. Emily's heart swelled with relief and gratitude, and for the first time all day, She felt seen not just as a girl with cookies to sell, but as a child who mattered. On the drive home, Emily told him about her mother. She told him how hard she worked, how she sometimes cried late at night when she thought Emily was asleep. The man listened quietly, his hands tightening on the steering wheel as memories of his own childhood flooded back. When they reached Emily's small, run-down apartment building, the man insisted on walking her up. Her mother opened the door, startled to see her daughter with a stranger, but relief replaced the fear when Emily ran into her arms, babbling about how this man had bought all her cookies. The mother invited him inside, and though she was embarrassed by the modest, cluttered apartment, she served him tea in chipped cups as Emily proudly showed off the now empty cookie box. The man learned that the mother worked nearly 16 hours a day just to make ends meet, that she barely had time to rest, and that Emily spent most afternoons alone. Something inside him shifted. He saw not just their struggle, but their courage, their will to keep going despite the storm, both the one outside and the one inside their lives. That night, after leaving their apartment, the man couldn't shake the image of Emily standing in the rain with her box of cookies. He thought about how close she had been to giving up, and how easily he could have driven past her like everyone else. But he hadn't. He had stopped. And that choice, he realized, could be the beginning of something much greater. The next morning, he returned to their building not with empty hands, but with groceries, warm clothes, and a promise. He explained that he owned a small business in town, and he offered Emily's mother a stable job with regular hours, better pay, and health insurance. Tears filled her eyes as she accepted, overwhelmed by a kindness she never expected. For Emily, it meant more than money. It meant dinners together. It meant her mother being home to tuck her in at night. It meant laughter returning to their tiny home. Weeks turned into months, and the stranger became more like family. He checked in often, celebrated Emily's small victories, and reminded her mother that she wasn't alone anymore. Emily, once the little girl shivering on a street corner, now skipped home from school with light in her eyes and warmth in her heart. And it all began with a single act of kindness in the rain, a choice to stop, to care, to see. Life didn't magically become perfect for Emily and her mother. There were still bills to pay, still challenges to face. But the difference was that now, they faced them with hope. And sometimes, that is all it takes to turn a life around, hope born from the kindness of a stranger who chose to step into someone else's storm. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Kindness Tales, and share it with others who need a reminder that kindness still exists in this world. Your support helps us keep telling stories that heal, inspire, and bring people together. And before we end, I have one special request. Comment below with the words "Kindness matters" if you believe that even the smallest act of compassion can change a life. Because somewhere out there, a little girl might still be standing in the rain, waiting for someone to stop. And maybe, that someone could be you.